Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to Real Madrid Hub again. I'm your host, Dr. JOTA, and we have a lot of news to talk about regarding to Real Madrid. I'm gonna get started with the latest update we have on the game tomorrow. As you know, we are playing against Athletic de Bilbao, and the squad list for tomorrow has been released like 1 hour ago, and I was surprised when I didn't see to one of the players I didn't hear about he was injured or he had another issue, health issue or problem, but he's not there. And that means he won't play tomorrow. He won't be able to make it. I'm talking about David Alaba, and it was a surprise for everybody because the first thing we heard about regarding to David Alaba is pretty much he was called for a PCR, the COVID-19 test. And apparently, we still don't know the result, but the player didn't show up in the training ground. So that means to me, whether is positive or maybe it's not positive, but if you don't have the result, you can make it, you can be in the squad list. One of those is the option. I lean to think that the player has tested positive in COVID-19, but no matter what is the reason, the player won't be able to make it tomorrow. So he hasn't been included in the squad list, and that is another absentee we will have for the game against Athletic de Bilbao. So I'm gonna share with you all the squad list. As you can see here, we have in the goalkeepers, we have to Thibaut Courtois, Fui Diaz, and Diego Pinheiro, because as you can imagine, Lunin is still going through it. He tested positive in COVID-19, so he's still in the process of recovery. And then defenders, we have to Nacho Fernandez, Militao, Vallejo, Lucas Vázquez, Mendy, Rafa Marin, and Miguel Gutierrez, the youngsters. And then, let me tell you what, Carvajal hasn't been able to make it as well. Hasn't been included as well either, just because the player is still injured from whatever happened that we don't know. Whatever happened the other day against Atletico de Madrid, whatever the reason is, the player had some issues, problems, injury, whatever it is. Nobody's going to tell us what. From Real Madrid, nobody's going to say anything, so we only can speculate about that. But the problem is, or the thing here is, Carvajal won't be able to make it either against Athletic de Bilbao. So we have on one side the players that tested positive in COVID-19, and then on the other hand we have more players that for different reasons won't be able to make it either. I'm talking about Casemiro. He was booked with the 5th yellow card against Cadiz, and then Carvajal, and then which one is the other one? Okay, I can't remember. Okay, I think it's just those two because Benzema has been included. So, I don't know. We have a total of 8 players, 8 absentees for the game tomorrow. So, midfield. Let me continue with the squad list. Midfield. It's going to be for Kroos, Camavinga, Valverde, Blanco, and Arribas. The latest update we have on Luka Modric is pretty much the Croatian player is still with symptoms of COVID. The funny thing here is he tested negative in COVID-19 in the PCR. The antibody test, apparently he tested positive, but then he got a PCR test and he tested negative in COVID-19. But the problem is, like Carlo Ancelotti revealed during the press conference, Luka Modric still has symptoms of COVID-19. It's the kind of cold symptoms like runny nose and stuff like that. So he won't be able to make it either. And then forwards, we will have to Karim Benzema, Vinicius Jr., Eden Hazard, Luka Jovic, Mariano Diaz, and Peter Federico. That is the player I want to see tomorrow in the lineup of Real Madrid, but we're not quite sure yet he will be lined up by Carlo Ancelotti. To me, that is the best option because rather than to line up Eden Hazard and what we saw the other day, to me, this is the right moment and the right game for giving him the opportunity to show everybody he's a great player. I'm talking about Peter Federico. But let me move on and let me share with you all, aside of this whole thing of the game tomorrow, let me talk about more stuff that we have, starting with Erling Haaland, because last night Eduardo Inda showed up in El Chiringuito, and as usual, he delivered like 5-6 different exclusive news, and 3 of them were about Real Madrid. So let me get started with the first one, which is not actually a exclusive news. It's pretty much something that he said is pretty much his opinion about where Erling Haaland will end playing for in the next year. And he said it is pretty much done deal for Real Madrid. I mean, his opinion, and that is what he basically said, is Erling Haaland will play for Real Madrid the next year, and this is pretty much over. I mean, it's pretty much done. And although there are a bunch of teams out there that are really interested in signing Erling Haaland, the one, I mean, I'm not going to say the one and only, but the one with the more chances to sign in and land Erling Haaland next year is pretty much Real Madrid. And that is essentially what Tom Watzke and Michael Thorpe, the CEO and the president of Borussia Dortmund, said the other day. I mean, Watzke, literally, he said he would be proud, so proud of Erling Haaland if he is able to win the Champions with Real Madrid, which is great, right? Because for us, I mean, that would be the same, so the same way. So to me, right now, there are 3 different parts in this deal, and the 3 of them agree in the player finishing or ending playing for Real Madrid. I mean, I'm talking about Borussia Dortmund, it's okay with Erling Haaland signing for Real Madrid, and they're assuming at the same time Erling Haaland will play for Real Madrid. On the other hand, you have the Erling Haaland that really wants to play for Real Madrid, and then Real Madrid wants to sign Erling Haaland just because Watzke the other day said Real Madrid is the one who is pushing harder than anybody else to sign Erling Haaland for the next year, which is great. Of course, it is something that we already have heard about, and to me, it is not a surprise if Erling Haaland finish playing for Real Madrid. That'd be, of course, that'd be great. The other story he had for all of us last night in El Chiringuito, I'm scrolling down so you guys can see the news. No, I'm not going to find it here, but it's okay. The next one is pretty much this story that I have for you all today. Okay, so Eduardo Inda was talking about Eden Hazard and the situation that happened before the game against Cadiz. And that situation is pretty much about how mad the players were at Carlo Ancelotti because he decided to line up to Eden Hazard, who is a player that has been out for a while. So from their understanding, there were more and better options for lineup rather than Eden Hazard, right? Because Eden Hazard, although he might have been training a little bit better, the player has been out for a while, so the rhythm, the pace he has is not enough to play with the rest of the teammates. I mean, he's slow. If you compare with the rest of the players, he's slow, he doesn't think up front, he doesn't have an idea, he's not creative enough. Although he did a good job though, in my opinion, is the pace. I mean, physical-wise, he's not at the same standard than the rest of the players of Real Madrid right now. So that's why a bunch of players of Real Madrid within the locker room, they were not okay with Eden Hazard playing in the lineup of Real Madrid, and even less. I mean, it was worse because the player played the 90 minutes of the game. So when everybody was thinking that he might be replaced in the halftime, maybe in the minute 60 or something like that for Peter Federico or any other player that might play a little bit better and be faster and more vertical and all the stuff. When we saw Eden Hazard was going to play the whole game, it was like, man, what? I mean, this guy's not ready to go. He's not ready to play the 90 minutes of a game, right? I mean, and I get it. I understand some people out there saying Eden Hazard did a good job and all this stuff, but he's not ready. He's not ready. He needs more time. He's been out of the squad for 2 months, right? So it's not okay. And apparently, according to Eduardo Inda, some of the players of Real Madrid were not okay with that decision from Carlo Ancelotti. So let me move forward and keep talking about Eduardo Inda again, just because when he was asked about the renewal contract situation of Luka Modric, what he said was very revealing, because before to respond about the situation of Luka Modric in Real Madrid, and I'm going to let you know what he said about that, he responded with something really different, and he responded saying, regarding to Erling Haaland, he said, okay, by the way, I'm thinking Erling Haaland is already done for Real Madrid. It's a done deal for Real Madrid. So that is the most, controversial statement that he had last night, just because, everybody's assuming that Erling Haaland wants to play in Real Madrid. But when you hear the same words from these journalists or other journalists, it's like, okay, this is pretty much done deal, right? And if he was asked about Modric and he responded with Erling Haaland, it is because he's pretty sure that it's going to happen. The signing of Erling Haaland for Real Madrid will happen. So I don't know, man. So happy to hear that, and hopefully we can see too Erling Haaland signing for Real Madrid. And now let me move forward and let's keep talking about Real Madrid updates and all the stuff, because another hot topic in Real Madrid is pretty much about the renewal situation of Luka Modric in Real Madrid. So what Eduardo Inda said is pretty much Real Madrid is willing to extend the contract of Luka Modric, but just for 1 year. And Luka Modric's thoughts right now is pretty much to extend the contract 1 year and an additional optional year more, just in case he reached certain or specific number of games during during the next season. And just pretty much objectives. If you accomplish this, you will get the 1 year, the one additional year. If you get that, you can get the additional year to extend your contract and all the stuff. But let me tell you what, don't mess with Florentino Perez. We already have seen what happened to Sergio Ramos when he tried to play Florentino Perez. Every person in this world who tries to play Florentino Perez will lose. We have to keep that in mind. So if I were Luka Modric, I wouldn't, I wouldn't ask any other thing other than 1 year contract extension, and that's it. Because he's Real Madrid and he's 36 years old. So he's not in the situation to demand anything to Real Madrid. Now, as of today, is pretty much what Real Madrid wants to do with him. He's one of the greatest though, but of course, he's beyond his 30s, and Real Madrid, the policy of Real Madrid in these ages is pretty much to extend year by year. That's it. So that is pretty much what he will get. And regarding to Kylian Mbappe, let me share with you all, Kylian Mbappe, this is something we talked about last night. Let me see. This is something we talked about the other day, and it is pretty much Kylian Mbappe wants to postpone the signing with Real Madrid after the eliminatory against Paris Saint-Germain. As you probably know, Kylian Mbappe would be okay signing for Real Madrid in January, but the problem is, if everybody starts to sniff the possible signing of Kylian Mbappe before the eliminatory, so he will play against Real Madrid, belonging in fact to Real Madrid already, it's gonna be a little bit, controversial. It's gonna be a little bit, so nobody wants to hear about that. And although all the PSG fans are assuming he will leave PSG, they don't want to see the player, of course, signing for Real Madrid before that eliminatory. I'm pretty sure Kylian Mbappe will try his best in order to eliminate to Real Madrid, right? He's very professional and he really knows what he has to do and what is supposed to do, right? But you never know, man. In soccer, these things work that way. It's like, okay, if you belong to PSG, what you have to do is pretty much to keep playing and keep giving everything you got for Paris Saint-Germain. So that is pretty much what I have regarding to Kylian Mbappe today. So that is what I have for you all guys today. I hope you liked the video, and of course, now just like it if you really enjoyed the video and subscribe the button. See you in the next video.